If game one was any indication of what's to come, LeBron could be in some trouble. The Bulls held him to 19 points for the first time in 11 postseason games, shooting just 39% and turning the ball over 5 times when he was guarded by Jimmy Butler. Let's listen to LeBron on what happened.
It wasn't that good tonight, so I have to be much better, and this game is something we can learn from, which we will, and come back with a better game plan in game two.
LeBron saying he has to be better. So let's talk about that, Chris. He says he has to be better. How much blame is on LeBron for last night's loss?
Well, he wasn't great. It's hard to blame him. I mean, he guarded Pau Gasol, he guarded Jimmy Butler, he guarded Derrick Rose, he guarded Joakim Noah. And he had almost a triple-double. He didn't have a bad game, but by his standards, he's got to be much better, especially without Kevin Love. And I think Cleveland can still win this series and win the East without Kevin Love. I think you miss him, but Tristan Thompson, you're probably better defensively without Love, and you still got 2 of the top 10 offensive players in the league. One of them, Kyrie Irving, showed up big time. LeBron was not that good, as he said, 6 turnovers. Now, he's had a problem with turnovers all year. He averaged a career-high 3.9. He's got to be more careful with the basketball. The turnover he had late. Cleveland had chances to win this game. As bad as they were for the most part, they had chances to win this game with 2 minutes left. LeBron's coming down, gets in the paint. Should have just pulled up for a 12-foot jump shot in the lane. Instead, looks for somebody to pass it to. That was a terrible turnover. So you don't put total blame on him, but he certainly has to be much better if they're going to win this game. He has to go in there with the mentality that he's going to be a big-time scorer in this series. You saw Kyrie deliver. That's his wingman. Now LeBron has to deliver. Without Love, you got to give them more offense scoring-wise. I want to see him going to the bucket looking to score, not just to pass. He's going to get plenty of assists. That's what he does. But he's got to be more aggressive offensively looking to score. And, again, it's been his problem all year. But he has got to stop making these careless turnovers. It will not work against a team that's as plugged in defensively as the Chicago Bulls are.
So, Chris, you can't give total blame to LeBron, but some blame he does deserve.
Oh, no question. No question. I mean, yes, he was not. 19 points is not good enough when you're missing Kevin Love. You got to be better than that.
Bayless.
Chris Broussard, I have one question for you. Why is it you always seem to wind up on this show the morning after LeBron had an off game? I'm not going to call it a bad game. I'm just going to call it an off game by LeBron's standards. It seems like again and again you wind up here and it's just wrong.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
The basketball gods aren't fair.
Well, I've been on plenty of times over the years when he had a great game, and you still found a way. Yeah. You still found a way to make it a bad game.
Okay.
The 48 points against Detroit, but we won't go there again.
Go there.
Somehow you found a way to criticize that performance.
Tell him, Chris.
So, Chris.
I got a lot of beefs with Skip today, but go ahead. Tell me about LeBron.
Chris, I'm certainly not going to condemn LeBron James for what happened last night in Game 1 in his building in Cleveland, Ohio. And I guess before I get into my answer, the silver lining here is I believe that's 3 straight Game 1s that LeBron James has lost to the Chicago Bulls, and each of the previous times LeBron's team then won 4 straight games and won the series, obviously, in 5. Now, do I think that's going to happen this time? I seriously doubt that. But I must say that, to me, closely watching the game last night, having high expectations for LeBron, I picked them to win this in 6 games. I thought he let his teammates down at home last night. I thought he let his crowd down because with that game begging to be taken over by the guy that you guys always call, Stephen A. always calls, the best player on the planet, I thought...
You're saying he's not anymore?
No, I'm saying he is. I'm setting the bar that high. We're talking about best player on the planet. I thought he was pretty awful in the second half by those standards. I thought that the harder he tried, the worse it got for LeBron. And sometimes we do see that. He's just trying too hard. And I agree with you. He was working hard on defense. And that defense was working hard on LeBron James. But again, we are talking. We fully acknowledge best player on the planet. And in the second half, he was not there for his team because in that third quarter alone, he went 1 for 6. He missed both his three-point shots. He missed all 3 of his threes in the second half. We know that's not his strength. But in that third quarter, he had 2 turnovers. He did have 4 assists. But then we got to the fourth quarter. He scored only 4 points. And I'm with you. Just keep attacking the basket. I don't care how big and strong Jimmy Butler is. I don't care how tall and long Gasol and Noah are. LeBron James cannot be stopped from getting to the basket or the free throw line, and too often he pulled up and took jump shots, or, as you pointed out, he had the 2 killer turnovers late, the one he just traveled on, and then the other one you pointed out with 2:09 remaining. He goes up in the lane without a plan. Changed courses in midair, tried to find somebody to throw it to, and just threw it away. And it was a killer turnover because it took his team out of its comeback, and it took the crowd back out of the game. LeBron is better than that. And for the game, the numbers looked pretty good. But as you know, Chris Broussard, against this team, LeBron's going to have to do better than 19 points. The other stats look great. The rebounds are high. The assists are high. Turnovers obviously too high at 6. But he's going to have to do a little better than 19 points on 9 of 22. And I think he can. And I think they can. I realize they're without Kevin Love. And I realize at home the first 2 they're without JR. I still think he's good enough and Kyrie is good enough to win these home games. I thought they were going to win last night, and I definitely think they'll win game 2 at home.
Well, I think we'll obviously see a different starting lineup. Tristan Thompson was good. You know, he has a positive plus-minus last night. I think you're going to probably see him in the starting lineup. And that's a big adjustment for this team because when he's on the floor, if he's there with Mozgov, you're not spreading, it's not spread out and the driving lanes aren't as open. But that's where this team is best suited to play now. You can't expect Mike Miller at his age with his health issues, Sean Marion or James Jones. All these guys are old. You can't expect them to start against this. This Bulls team is strong at every position in the starting lineup. And so you're going to have to go differently. But LeBron's going to have to be better. He's going to have to finish better. Yep. That layup he had, that's happened a lot this year. I mean, length, as always, it's tough to finish over length, even for LeBron at times throughout his career. Now, he's not going up dunking on those guys like he used to, but he's got to make some of those layups. He's got to be the finisher at the rim that Kyrie Irving is. I mean, Kyrie Irving is a tremendous finisher at the rim. LeBron's going to have to finish like that in this series for Cleveland to win.
So, Chris, what do you hear from inside the Cavs? I continue to hear they're still not enamored of David Blatt's rotations and substitutions, that they still don't quite trust him to put the right player in the right spot at the right moment. Obviously, he started Mike Miller. I said yesterday on the show, he's got to play Mike Miller. I didn't think he'd put him in the starting lineup. But how do you feel like the Cavs feel about their coach in this playoff situation?
I mean, look, the veterans all season long have seen the things that Blatt just didn't know and really couldn't expect him to know, having coached in Israel for the previous 20 years. Now in the playoffs, that's even more magnified. Okay, so they see it. And I'm not saying they're going in, they're not focused on, hey, we don't have the guy to lead us to the title, but they do see some of these issues. And look, that's why LeBron has a ton of say within what they're going to do, offensively in particular. Tyronn Lue has a ton of say, and Larry Drew's on that staff, a former head coach who's done well in the league. So they're not just looking at Blatt like he can't lead us to the promised land, but they do understand he's going to come up short at times in this postseason, and these other guys have to get in there and use their experience in the NBA that he doesn't have to help get them over his hump. And you're going against one of the best coaches in the league in Thibodeau, now with an offense that can pretty much match his great defense. So It's no excuse. There are no excuses for Cleveland. No. Kevin Love's not an excuse. I'm even going to say J.R. Smith is not an excuse because J.R. brought that on himself. They need to get it done. LeBron needs to get it done, and they're capable of getting it done.
All right. So, Chris, we want you to hang around a little bit with us. Is that okay? I know you have beef with Skip, but are you able to hang out with us?
Pacquiao won that fight.
Oh, Lord.
Or I should say that square dance.
All right. Well, we'll talk about the square dance another day. When we come back, Chris, we're talking about 2009. We're rewinding, shall we? Blake Griffin, #1 overall pick. Steph Curry with the 7. Would we still take Blake Griffin at 1? Someone at the desk says maybe not. Who might that be? The discussion on the other side of the break.